appreciate that you have made a commitment to scrutinize the budget more than ever this year. I've always felt that the town side of the budget did not receive its fair share of scrutiny. So I ask that you apply the same amount of scrutiny to the town side budget as you do with the school side budget. For years, I have witnessed the school side budget being scrutinized heavily. I encourage you to attempt to find efficiencies in the budget that do not severely impact the level of services. Last year, the budget process did not allow ample time for the Legislative Council members to receive all the answers prior to the Legislative Council taking action on the budget. This year, I thank you for changing the process to allow us to actively seek out answers during your meetings. Okay. On the budget specifics, some of my thoughts, concerns, questions may require some further analysis. Therefore, I have submitted, and I'd like to share some of those thoughts with you tonight. If you could just bear with me, it is a little lengthy. I've had a chance to review the budget thoroughly so far. Okay, number one, the highway budget request for next year was $815,000 less than this year's budget. It was noted that we are hoping for stimulus money for the road and bridge repair. Fred Hurley, the Public Works Director, reported to the council last year that he had concerns for roads, bridges, due to years of budget defeats. What is the plan if we do not receive the stimulus money? If we added $815,000 back into the budget, the Board of Selectmen cuts would not be 3.6% below the current budget. Okay, the next item, the Fairfield Hills Authority budget is almost $500,000, and essentially it pays the consulting company to manage the Fairfield Hills property. And additionally, there is a proposal that Ruby mentioned to spend another $340,000 to pay this consultant to manage the Newtown Hall. Now that the roads have been turned over to the town, could you find efficiencies with the town departments absorbing this job? As is, it appears the Public Works Department provides a significant amount of in-kind services to manage Fairfield Hill roads and grounds. Next item, what do you plan to do with Enmond Town Hall when town offices are moved to the new town hall in September? The $190,000 of operating costs for this building has not diminished despite the planned move to the new town hall in September. I'd like you to take a look at that. Okay. Also, the Board of Education are using furlough days for savings. Would the town employees consider the same for cost savings? There is also a talk of discussing a planned reduction in force of the teaching staff for schools. If that is being explored for the schools, then I encourage you to do the same for the town employees. Some towns also have temporarily instituted a 4-day work week to attempt to save money on operating costs by closing the municipal buildings. Is this an option for Newtown, and could we analyze how much could be saved? Could the Board of Selectmen be asked to use the $760,000 in revenue to be received from the Woodbury lease arrangement to offset the projected revenue shortfalls this year? Okay. Despite the fact that the Board of Education budget is 1.74% increase and the Board of Selectmen budget is 3.6% decrease, due to the revenue shortfalls, there is an increase in the tax, with the estimated revenue. So I'd like you to take a look at that, because if they need more money for Fairfield Hills activities, then the Board of Selectmen could ask for more money in the future and let the additional money requests go through the budget and or the CIP process. And lastly, I do want to mention what Ruby mentioned before. There is a new line item for $260,000 for payment for the Newtown Youth Academy lease amendment for Greenwich Hall demolition and parking construction in the debt service portion of the budget. This item is expected to be in the budget for the next 15 years. This is a capital expenditure that should have been in the 5-year capital improvement plan, receiving Board of Finance, Legislative Council, and then voter approval. It is my understanding this amount was not factored into the 10% CIP debt cap for this year. I believe we are paying 6% interest to repay the $3 million. Please find out if there would be interest savings by obtaining general obligation bonds, just as we do for all other capital projects. Please evaluate if this expenditure followed the appropriate charter guidelines and also evaluate if this was the most fiscally responsible method to fund this project. So there are a lot of items in the Board of Selectmen budget that I'd like you to critically review this year. And if you can find some efficiencies, that would be really helpful during this economic downturn. I also ask you to take a long-term view. I hope to God that this economic crisis will not persist, and because it does take a long time for this town to recover if we make draconian cuts. So please, okay, review the budget. Thank you.
Did you submit these questions to who they should have been submitted to, which is the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Education?
You know what, I've had a chance to review this budget afterwards, but I did submit some of the questions to the Board of Selectmen prior to them taking action. I did not receive responses from some of those
Okay, because a lot of the questions you're asking should originate there. Well, no, I'm just, it's, I don't want to debate it, but you're asking a lot of very specific questions, a lot of which are decision-making processes that the Board of Selectmen and Board of Education should have already gone through. And my question to you is, have they been presented to them? And if not, then that's certainly where I would like to start, and we'll certainly ask the questions for you, but they probably should have been presented to them. I mean, is this the first time the town is hearing of these questions, or?
No, some of those questions have been asked many times throughout the year, various
aspects. Okay. Just to make another comment, I personally had requested that these meetings be televised for two reasons, really. One, the public process, and this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Board of Finance, but it has always been a very open process. We've had public hearings. Every meeting is public. You can certainly go, listen, ask questions, submit. It's an extremely open and public process by definition and by law. I'm anxious, however, as I think we all here, and I will speak on behalf of the Board of Finance, as to the second primary reason why I wanted to have the meetings televised, is to allow the public to see the justification by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education on the decisions that they've made as they've presented them to us. We've always viewed the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Education, as the best group to run the town and run the school system. But a lot of the questions that you have, okay, and a lot of what we have in the form of what's being presented, which we have not acted on yet, okay, we're very, very hopeful that the public will be able to see in a broader format why these things are being asked for and what the justification and rationale is for them. And while I'm on the topic, just in case I don't forget, I've got 8 people that have spoken so far, 7 of which have supported the Board of Ed budget. I would make a respectful recommendation to anybody who's going to look at the budget. Look at the entire budget, okay? When you ask to support things, you're certainly well within your right to do that, and we appreciate the input. The only comment I'm going to make to you is it's a very big enterprise. There's a lot of moving parts. So when you ask to support one thing or against something else, do yourself the service of looking at all aspects of the budget. The Board of Selectmen and the reason why they've done things. The revenues, what may or may not happen, what things exist in the budget that will add to the overall outcome, not just a particular line item or a particular department. Anybody else? Yep.
Tisha McCoy, 5 Old Purdy Station Road. I'm a teacher and a resident of Newtown. And again, I will invite all of you to come into our school, into my classroom, into any of my colleagues' classrooms. I know some of you, your wives, are very involved in the schools. I'm not sure how involved you all are. The principals did a walkthrough today in my school, and I've only had the opportunity to speak to my own principal, but I think they were enlightened by what they saw. And I respect what you do. I'm currently taking a finance class, and I am mind-boggled at the line items and the lack of support from the state.